So where are we headed? Well, we know that technology is not going to wait for us, so we figured it was probably a good idea to get on board as soon as possible and embrace the future fully head on. We've been making sensors for over 75 years, and as part of that, we've dealt with a lot of customer requirements, customer journeys. We understand what it is that customers need to do in terms of saving time, because time is money. I think at the end of the day, we all know that. But what is it that makes us so special as a company, and why should you care about what we're telling you? Well, it is that customer interaction over the past 75 years that gives us an understanding of what people actually need. You know, we're not some fly-by-night that's just popped onto the scene in terms of trying to tell you what we think you need. We understand from our customers what they actually need. So we decided to embrace the technology, really get on board with it, and hopefully you'll see that it's quite an exciting time. I think there's some pretty good footage in here that hopefully you'll see that. So let's sit back a little bit, and we're going to let AI take the load. This is one I prepared earlier because I've been caught out pretty badly from Wi-Fi in the past. Never worked with children, animals, or dodgy Wi-Fi, I think is probably a pretty good saying. So we'll see if this thing works, and I'll talk you through what's going on. Okay, so here I am. The mouse is me, working my way through our SICK Creator software, a new piece of software which is available. But the IODD Plus element that you can see here is currently only available for us. So it would be extremely good to get your feedback during the day if you could come and speak to us on the stand. Maybe we can show you it in live format. So going to connect to a IO-Link Master, one of our SIG 300s, although other models are available from the range. And we're going to see what's connected to the SIG 300 because, as we'll see in a little while, it has an IODD file on board already for the sensor. In this case, it's a W10. It's introduced itself to me and said, what do you want to do? I've been very polite. I think it's always a good idea to be polite to AI because you just never know what's going down the line. And first and foremost, I'm trying to do this from your perspective, so from a customer perspective. It's the first time you've picked up the sensor. You want to know what it can do. So I've asked the Gen AI, show me what this sensor can do. So off it pops, and as a quick look around the IODD file, again, which I'll discuss in a little more detail shortly, and it gives me an overview of what's possible. Now, you don't have to do this step. You could go straight into it if you wanted to just ask it to do what you think you need. But now that I've got an idea what the sensor can do, it gives me a better idea of the kind of prompts that I might want to choose to use with the Gen AI. So, again, being polite, I want a simple, dedicated dashboard to show me distance measurement out of the sensor because the information I've received has told me that this sensor has a distance element built in. Now, I already knew that, and you probably would already know that, but for the purposes of this, I'm trying to show you that you don't need to be a specialist. You don't need to have prior experience necessarily of that particular instance or application or commissioning. So, I've asked it the question, it's come back, it's confirmed that it's understood the question. For the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to let it run through in real time. There's another short video later on where I have cut a little bit of this because it takes a little longer than maybe we're used to in this momentary age. Having said that, I can't type that fast, and even if I could, I probably wouldn't. So, the AI has gone off, it understands the question, it understands the solution requirements, it's coding an HTML page here for me, which we're going to use embedded within this software. And you'll see in a second, it doesn't take that long. And we're going to get something that's usable, straight out of the box, the kind of thing that might take a coder or a developer, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe more, depending on how much debugging there is, maybe days, depending on the quantity and the in-depthness required. That's not a very good word, in-depthness, but the actual level of drill down into what the sensor can do. So this is quite simple. Now, I've only been talking for a very short amount of time there. The AI has already finished doing the job. And as you can see, we've got a very simple dashboard showing me the distance of the sensor and a little histogram going across the last 60 seconds or so. And put my hand in front of the sensor. So straight away, I've got something that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. Now, It does. It's mine. It does exactly what I need it to do. And we can move forward and continue to improve it. And as you see in a little bit, we can make this a lot more detailed if we wish to. Okay. The question is, how does it know about SICK? How does the AI know what we're actually asking it to do? Well, it's all due to the IODD files that I've spoken about. Now, these IODD files from our equipment are available via sick.com, via our website. All of our devices have the IODD files listed. The problem with an IODD file, though, is it looks a bit like that when you open it up. Now, to the untrained eye, it's a complete mess. To the trained eye, it's still tricky. There's a lot of very important information in there, which if you understand what you're looking at, you can pull out. Having said that, it's much easier if you've got a partner, shall we say, in terms of the AI, that actually has been trained specifically to know how to look and read IODD files. That's its primary job. So it gives you a deeper knowledge in seconds of any sensor you choose to plug into it. Okay, now I work for SICK. Obviously, SICK sensors are amazing. All of our sensors have got IODD files. Having said that, we understand that not every sensor you buy or use when it comes to an IO-Link sensor will necessarily be from SICK. So, we're not, how can I put this? We're not averse to working with third-party options if that's what you need to do. Okay? We'd only be cutting off our nose to spite our face effectively. So, what we'd like to do is we have got the ability to draw information from the IODD finder, which is at iolink.com, and we can then use anybody else's IODD files on the fly. So if you've got a sensor from one of our competitors or any third-party supplier, we can automatically pull that information as well. And the results can be the same. The bottom line is, we are not an island, and we understand that we don't make every single thing that you might need to make use of, okay? So it's in our best interest to make sure that you, as an end user, as a machine builder, as an OEM, have got the ability to make use of our products no matter how you're building your machines. Smart thinking. Now, a lot of the time, you want to be the person that's come up with the idea. You want to be the person that's designed something and brought it to fruition. You want to put your name on it. But at the end of the day, a good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter whether it's your idea, whether it's somebody else who you work with, their idea, or whether it's a Gen AI idea from our software. I'll show you in a second some of the kind of recommendations that the AI can generate on the fly for you. So, for example, you've created a dashboard similar to what we saw. Immediately, its first job thereafter is to make recommendations as to how you might improve that dashboard or that interaction, so that you don't have to think too hard and you can, again, save time. All of this ultimately comes down to saving time. So, how smart is the system really? Let's have a look. First set of ideas, functional enhancements, teach-in integration. Do you have a device that has got teach-in functionality? A lot of the time the answer is going to be yes. How's about we integrate that into the dashboard and make sure that you don't have to fiddle around with screwdrivers, you don't have to be reaching into machines to press buttons. We're going to save you time there. Advanced configuration panels, another idea. Smart monitoring features. Lots of our sensors and lots of other sensors have additional functionality that maybe, at first glance, you don't necessarily fully understand. The AI, because it understands how to read the IODD files in very, very minutiae type detail, already knows all the things the sensor's capable of doing, even if you don't. Visual improvements, so user interface improvements. There are methods within this software where you might actually want to export the thing you design and store it as a web page, an interactive web page. So depending on if it's going to be yourself making use of it, or if it's going to be one of your colleagues, or maybe even a customer making use of this, you might want to ensure that that visual experience is the best that it can be. Okay, a lot of the software we see day to day is engineer-related software, shall we say. Engineer-related software that is functional but maybe doesn't look that pretty. That's entirely up to you how pretty you want to make it with the backup of the AI. Data management as well. So we've got analytics, we've got data handling. You can export directly from the solution that you come up with. Lots of different integration and connectivity options depending on the sensor. Again, all down to that IODD interpretation. And then technical improvements. How can we make it better? Charts could be improved, color schemes, multi-line feedback on one chart, and then diagnostics and troubleshooting. I think, to the audience we're speaking to here, diagnostics and troubleshooting is going to be quite important. The faster you can commission and build products, the more time you save for something more useful. Okay, time is money. I don't mind saying that. I know a lot of people shy away from it, but it's true. Okay, it's always somebody's first time. Okay, so you've got maybe a new member of staff, or you're working with a sensor you've never worked with before. Whatever scenario we're talking about, it's entirely plausible that you are doing this thing for the first time. Now, with our software, with the solution we're proposing here, you don't need deep knowledge. You don't need to have worked for the company for a long time. You don't need to have worked with that sensor before. All you need to have is access to the software, an internet connection, and the ability to ask some very simple questions. Okay? What I've found with the solution is that when you get your question database right, it becomes easier to get the results that you require. So once you get used to asking things in the right way, or understanding that the AI remembers what you've done before, because you use your user login to do this, which means it's got access to all of your previous interactions, you can refer to a particularly successful interaction and draw on the benefits you made there in order to make this interaction quicker, easier, and get a faster route to a successful solution. And yes, you've always got your co-pilot with you, okay? As long as you've got your laptop and an internet connection with the software, you're sorted. Okay, so now we're going to give it a bit more of a challenge. So we've got the basic dashboard. Let's now see how it does with a bit more of a complicated explanation. These videos are working very well. I'm surprised. Okay, so what else can you do for me? What are the improvements? I've already asked the question, and the AI has come back with a variety of possibilities. Technical improvements, advanced chart features, all the sort of things we've discussed a second ago. And then I want to say, right, okay, I need to get some of these elements in the solution in a way that makes this useful for me. So we'll see what goes on here. Again, being polite, because you just never know. I need some additional feedback on the status of my sensor. I'll see what he comes back with. I think of it as a he, but I guess there's absolutely no reason for it to be a he or a she. It's neither. So I have cut a couple of the scenes here to make sure this fits in with the timescale that we've got to work with. But in general, the timescale is within minutes. I've never seen it take more than about 3 minutes from start to finish. So the feedback comes back. Again, I've understood the question. This is what you want me to do. And now I'm going to deploy it for you. I'm going to make the code. I'm going to export the code into this design area. And then we can run it within SICK Creator. Or, as I said before, we can take that code, export it into an HTML file, and run it on any standard browser, as long as that browser has got access to the device you're trying to speak to. Okay, so straight away we can see we've got additional information about the digital outputs. We've got device diagnostics built in. We've got the ability to use the graph as we saw before, but that would be crazy not to use that because it's one of the primary features of this particular sensor. But then in addition to that, I've now got the ability to export my findings or my commissioning experience or my testing to Excel, and then I can view that in whichever software I want to make use of it, because it's an XLSS file as far as I remember. Yes, and I'd specifically asked it to do that. And you can see there in the Excel file the peaks and troughs that we just saw within the graphical feedback. So we know that what we are exporting is in fact what we wanted to export. So I also want to have the option, as I said before, of exporting as an HTML file. Here we see that. Save as a name of your choice. And then just off the screen on one of my other screens, drag it in, I've opened the very same solution in a standard browser. So what that means is in the field, as long as the person making use of this piece of solution you've come up with, as long as they've got a browser They don't even need the primary software once you've created the solution, which I think opens up another element of success here. You as the user have got the ability to design a multitude of solutions under your own belt and then deploy them to your partners or your engineers, wherever they may be working. This one does this, this one does this, this one does this, particular sensor, particular solution. And at the end of the day, it's now fully within your power, even though you're not a specialist in coding or creating web pages or creating coded solutions. It's in your power to create a very solid, usable interface. And I would welcome you to come and speak to us on stand 104 about this. Really, it's really important that we understand your feedback. At the moment, this is not available to the end user, but it will be in due course. And we'd like to get it right first time. So if you're interested, please do come and see us. Love to discuss it with you in more detail. And if there's any questions, I'll be prepared to answer them now, or come and see us on 104 and we'll go through it in more detail then. Thank you.